Hey, Brittany, thanks so much for joining the Opening Tune podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to dive into Artsy Studio, but before we do, could you give the audience a quick background on yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Brittney Wysong, and I'm based in Trussville, Alabama. I'm actually originally from St. Louis, but I've lived in Alabama for about 10 to 12 years. My background is actually in healthcare marketing, and so I've worked in marketing and been a graphic designer for years. I've got about a decade or so more into marketing, and I recently have transitioned, and now I own an art studio in Trussville, Alabama, called Artsy Studio that is focused on art play classes. So it's art lessons and open art play classes for kids and workshops for adults.
Interesting. And how did that transition happen there?
So that's kind of a funny story. So at the time, it's probably you'll probably hear it and you'll be like, "Wow, she's crazy." So I was actually at like a really pivotal point in my life. So I had always just like thrived in environments where like my creativity could flow. Like I'm a creative person and I just
Hmm.
really thrive in environments like that. And for those fellow creatives, like you know what I'm talking about is that you live you get that energy just from being creative. And I had just had my second baby. Like I was, 6 weeks postpartum. I still had a toddler at home. He had just turned two, and
Wow.
I was just yeah, I was just doing work that just like wasn't really thrilling me at the time. And so I kind of stumbled upon the idea when we were out of town, actually. So we were out of town, we were up north visiting family, and it was the winter, and toddler, 6 month, 6 week old, and I was like looking just for something to do. And at the time, like when you have little kids, you know that you try and do all these like art things at home. You set it up all at the kitchen table, you spend all the money, do all the different things, and
Hmm.
you get them up there and you're excited. Like you're excited to get to do stuff. And then they sit there for 2 seconds and then they're like, I don't want to do this. Or they're just like, go walk to a truck or something like that. And then you're just like, no, 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 come back. Like, it's so, so fun. And then they're like, it's actually like not. And so they're like, thanks, but no thanks. So for some reason, even though my toddler did all of these exact things, every time I tried to do a craft or art or anything with him,
Hmm.
he was always just like, I am no thank you. So, but for some reason, I was like, I took him to an art studio and it was cold as, and it was probably like one of the only things maybe that was open that I could find. And so,
And sorry, what
um,
year is this?
this was 2024. So the end of 2024. So about a year
Got it.
ago. And so yeah, so because my daughter just turned one. So yeah. So it was the end of 2024. And so when I took him to this studio, we walked in and it was really just like an open space with stuff everywhere. Like just stuff
Hmm.
everywhere. And he lit up. And I was like honestly shocked. Like I was like I probably spent it was like an hour-ish long class, and I probably and there's other, kids his age there. It was all designed for his age, and he lit up. It was really calm. He was really focused. He was entertained. He wasn't saying like I want to leave or I want a snack or something like that. Um it was just really fascinating at the time to see. And I kind of just like in these moments, because I'm like, just watching this, and I really just realized that kids kind of experience the same things that like I was experiencing in my day to day. Like there just really aren't environments that just let them create, like without like chasing them around, like don't paint that, or that's like we can't do that. For us, like
Yeah.
if it's not on brand, you can't do that, or like that. And so there's a lot of those environments that kids get where they have complete control, complete creative autonomy. And so we start to lose that. I kind of just like realized, like, we start to lose that fire really early. Like, when do we get to the point where people are like, when you start to feel like, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not artsy? And it's like we start to
Hmm.
lose that really early because there's no environment to foster that with kids. So I was like,
Yeah.
we need something like this, particularly in the area that I live in Alabama. I was like, we really need something like this. Like kids need things like this like everywhere.
And what do you think was different about, you setting up sort of a makeshift art studio at home versus going to an actual art studio? Because I remember, he wasn't, he only played for a few seconds there, but in the actual art studio was like, this is really cool.
Yeah, so I kind of align it to this is that when you work out, do you get a better workout in your living room or do you get a better workout in the gym? And
Mm,
generally, if you go to the gym, you're going to get a better workout in because there's all the things there designed for you to work out. All of everybody there is there for the same reason to work out.
yes.
But if you go
Yes.
to, if you're in your living room and you're like, okay, I have weights and a yoga mat in my living room, you're also like, okay, but the laundry's right there. I could just like, I need to, my phone is right there. I could like answer it like nobody's like watching me or anything like that. It's the same thing with kids and art. The environment makes a huge difference. Is that everything that we do here, the environment is set up for them to do art. There isn't those distractions that they get. There isn't like, I can go, up to my room or I can go, into these other rooms in
Yeah.
my house. Or I can play with this particular toy or I can watch TV. Like there isn't those distractions. The environment is cultivated for art and it focuses on art. It gives them options for sure, but and that's the same way the gym is. Like, you get the
Yep.
options, you can go and do multiple things, but the environment makes just a huge difference. And I think that that's one thing that we don't necessarily recognize. You can have a personal trainer come to your house. You can also have like you can be the art teacher at your house or you can go to the gym and have a personal trainer there. It's the same thing. Like you could do art with your kid at your house. Yeah, they could do it, but chances are, when they are in a space that is fully cultivated for them, they're going to have a different experience.
Yeah. Brittany, one quick thing. I think you might be touching the table a
Oh,
bit,
sorry.
or maybe the computer, and it's just causing a bit of ruffling in the sound. So just
I
if
will
you
not
could
do
try
that.
not to touch it, so then the audio doesn't affect. But
I'll sit back from
all
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, awesome. Well, no, that's super helpful. So I know that you said you were doing marketing at a healthcare company. I'm sure that's a pretty stable job, good salary, great benefits. How did you get comfortable with leaving all that behind?
So it took a long time. So I wasn't, in full transparency, I wasn't comfortable before at the front half of it. And so my initial thought, like I loved the people I worked with and everything like that, but the particular role I was in at the time just like wasn't thrilling me, if that makes sense. And so like it wasn't probably like a good fit for my strengths, but at the same time, like just like you mentioned, you have a salary, you have benefits, you have like your career trajectory and everything to think about. Like you have to like those are all things that you have to think and you have to balance. But at the same time, like, you know, you have to also think about like what is going to make you happy in the day to day. And so what and I did things differently than any other business owner is going to do. Any business owner is going to do what's going to be right for them to, and we're all going to be doing what's right for us as humans. How are you going to follow what your dreams are, what you want to
Yeah,
build, but then also knowing that we live in a world where you have to make money. And when you start a small business, it's not always like the most like lucrative thing to start with. You're doing it because you have a passion for it. You're doing it because you see a need for this in your community. And if you make money in it, obviously that's always the goal, but it's not always the reality to start with. So what I did is that I wasn't at the time like and still, I stand by this decision. Like, I wasn't super comfortable taking out a large, massive loan to start an
hmm,
art studio. Like, that wasn't something that I was comfortable doing. But I had saved up a lot of money over the time. And then my parents, they gave a little bit of money just to help kind of like get the startup costs going. Not anything like super, super a ton of money. And so what I ended up doing though is I worked my corporate job for a pretty long time, up until like very, very recently. And I had staff members who were running all the classes during the day. So I did
mm,
all of the back end work at nighttime. So all the things that we would need to have like to be set up during the day for classes. So I would like get there really early before my kids woke up and I would like set up all the classes for the day. And then after they went to bed, I would, like be up till like 11 p.m. every single night, just making sure that I was like, it had everything in line. Like I'd be like planning planning birthday parties. I would be doing all of the things just at nighttime. So it took me a hot minute to honestly feel like, okay, maybe this is the right time to transition out. And it was honestly just a timing thing where it just kind of like, it felt like the right time to make that move. You know, and then transition out of that full time more, and then spend more time working on this in daytime hours. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
And
it was a, oops, go ahead.
oh no, sorry, finish your thought.
No, I'm good. You're good.
Oh yeah. So just to give the audience a sense of the timeline, when did you start sort of thinking like, hey, maybe there's something I'm not really satisfied with, what's going on at work. I want to do something new, to when you actually opened to then when you, were doing both jobs and then now leaving full time.
So I let me think about this. So I think when you're in a job, and I just like want to like just also I like loved the company that I worked for and the people that I worked for. It's like sometimes you're just in roles that just like aren't a fit with your strengths, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
you're just like doing like my work was more like really really technical at the time and just like didn't have a lot of elements for creativity. And so I didn't even think at the time, like when this happened, like I don't even think I fully like realized like what was happening. Like if that I don't think I realized like how much of that creativity I was missing until like it's like everything is clear in hindsight. But that probably once I had my daughter in October of 2024. And then this kind of like idea came to fruition really in November of 2024. So things happened real fast. Life happens fast.
Oh wow.
And so, yeah. And then I got the keys December of 2024. So it just, life happens fast. And so it
Oh,
was,
so this all happened within a matter of months.
oh yeah, this happened within a matter of months. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
We can talk about that if you want to.
Yeah,
So
that's a really accelerated timeline.
yeah, it is. I would definitely say that was like, you know, when I think about it is like, you know, this was a thing that I was like, once the idea had struck, it was almost like I was like, I exactly knew what I was going to do. And the things just
Yeah.
fell in place really quickly. Like it happened quickly because the things fell in place really quickly. So we live in an area where we have a really like new development right in my area. And so, but
Okay.
I didn't want to take an art studio where kids could like literally paint on the wall and be like, let's go into a new build. Like that did not feel like it made literally any sense at all to me. And I was more looking for like kind of like an eclectic kind of vibe. And so there are some buildings that are in our area that are older buildings and they kind of like fit what I was looking for. And I wasn't going to make any kind of move until I found what I considered to be the absolute right place. Like it was like I
Hmm.
wasn't going to do anything. Like I had already once I had the idea, I kind of was like, it was just kind of like hyper fixated. I was,
Yeah.
on maternity leave, had a lot of time to think about it, and so kind of like hyper fixated on it. And so like, but I really did know exactly what this business could possibly be. Like I had the name in my head, I had like the look of it, I could like picture everything. And so, but I wasn't willing to make any moves, like not start anything up until I thought, can we get a spot? And
Yeah.
can we get a spot for it? And that happened pretty quickly. I had done like a tester in my garage with my friends. I wanted
Hmm.
to even see
Perfect.
like as I was hyper fixating on this, I was like, is this something that maybe just, my kid likes or kids in that particular area liked? And so when
Yeah.
I got home, I was like, I'm gonna try this just to see like maybe I'm just thinking too much about it. Like maybe nobody actually likes it and it's just me. So my husband
I
went out.
love the testing.
Yeah.
The lean model approach to building. I love
Yeah.
it so much.
My this is probably like one of those like you see on Instagram, you're like unhinged things I did before opening my business. This is one of those things. So I have a really large group of female mom friends, and so my husband went out of town, and I was like, I'm going to plan a tester weekend. And so, because he would not have been down for us to me to like destroy our garage. So our ring
Yeah,
camera was on the outside and he's like, what are you doing this week? I'm like, I don't know, nothing. And so the ring camera's
that's
on the
awesome.
outside. So he couldn't see what was occurring, honestly. But I went and got a whole bunch of tarps. I moved our cars out of the garage, and I tarped our entire garage. And then I went into the Dollar Tree and got a whole bunch of random things. Like I got kitchen utensils and dry oats and lots of paint and paintbrushes. And I took scrap wood that we had in our garage and built makeshift tables with like a nail gun while my kids were asleep
Yeah,
during nap time. And I set up other kind of like big planks of wood that we had in our garage on old paint cans and kind of like secured everything down, tarped everything down, and then invited 20 of my friends and all of their children over and said, okay, you just let them loose and whatever they do, they do. And then they did that for like 3 hours. And so
that's incredible.
it was so fun. And everybody's like, this is literally so fun because they were just like, honestly raging with paint in my garage. And we had like sensory activities. We had like all of these kind of like things. And I'm like, wait, some that are like little tiny crafts. We had some that were just like, like paint whatever you want. I had like built all these structures out of cardboard, like big towers out of cardboard that they could paint. And afterwards, everybody was just like, that was so fun. And I'm like, and it was fun. And it didn't take that long to clean up. The only thing is the oats did take a long time to clean up. That was like they were there for like a year, up until recently. And so I probably could have done better with that one. But everybody had such a great time and they were like, and so I kind of like, oh, this was just opened up and I was like, I'm like considering opening something like this if I could find the right space. Like if I could find the right space, this is something that I would want to do for sure.
Hmm.
And so, that was at the end of November. So this was like, again, all these things happen real fast. And then
Yeah.
as was, I had like was looking on like LoopNet and Crexy and things like that to see like, okay, are
Yep.
there leases or anything that's like opening up? Everything was like new build and the square foot, like the cost per square foot was just like something that just felt like really intimidating to me. Like the rent would have ended up being, around like $5,000 a month or something like that. And like I have to think
Hmm.
of, like if I were to price an art class for kids, like how much are people willing to pay for things and like
Yeah.
just like thinking through just like all of those things, running the numbers kind of like in your head. So, but I ended up driving by this older building that's like right in the center of town. So we were like right in the center of town, and they had a sign out front that said like for lease. And I was like, I had not seen that before. I was like, that just like came out of nowhere. And it was like, but it's like right across from like this main district where everybody frequents. It's like where everybody travels to go to work. It's like the major intersection in our town. And so I took a picture of it while I was parked at an intersection, and this was probably Thanksgiving weekend, and I went back and I called them, and we just like kind of like chatted briefly on the phone and just like, yeah, like it's Thanksgiving tomorrow or whatever it was. And she's like, you can
Hmm.
come look at the, like, whatever day wasn't that day. I think it was probably like, this was a Tuesday, maybe it was Wednesday or something like that. And so I went and we looked at the space. And so like the way our space is set up is that like when I had envisioned this, I was like, I want to have like a front area where like parents can like chill or hang out, and then like a back area where they can run wild. And it's like the back area, it's the studio space. And so when I came into this space, like it was a little kind of like jewelry place beforehand, and so it was like really cute. And so I thought that's all it was. I'd never been in this building before. And then we walked in, and then in the back apparently it was a old flower shop, and it was like basically like the like bare bones, and it was messy and
Hmm.
all of these things. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that this was back here. So it was this
Yeah.
whole front space that had already been like renovated, and then this back space that was kind of decrepit. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is absolutely, like, honestly, this setup is like literally like it's perfect. This is insane, like how perfect this is. And so then we talked about the rent, and we talked about like the lease terms, and it's just like everything, it's just weird because like everything just kind of like, I'm like, this is it. Like this is the spot. Like, oh my gosh, this would be like, I can't believe that this spot even exists in the place that I live. Like this is insane.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just had to jump on it. And so like I went back home and I talked to my husband, and he knows me and he knows, like, he's like, I know you're gonna do this. Like I already know that you're gonna do this. Like, so I don't even know why you're like, oh, let's talk about it. He's like, I already know you're gonna do this. So after that, there's obviously things before you sign a lease that you have to get set up. Like you have to like kind of like you have to have your LLC, you have to have for us, you have to have a Trussville business license, you have to have a whole bunch of stuff to get that set up. So I was like,
Yeah.
can you give me a month or so, like maybe a couple weeks, just to get all these things set up in place? And our landlord was like, sure. And when Serenity was in this space beforehand, and so we were like, they gave us a really good, I don't want to say like a deal, but they gave us a good setup where she gave us 2 months rent free,
Hmm.
because for us to get everything set up, and then we would start paying our rent after that.
Yeah.
And so I had 2 months to basically
And
get
how long of a
everything.
lease?
So initially it was a 3-year lease, which I don't know why I felt like very threatening to me. So, but you had a tenant allowance as well. So it was like a $5,000 tenant allowance in a 3-year lease, but we agreed on a 2-year lease and a $2,000 tenant allowance.
Okay.
So
So you
yeah, so
negotiated down the lease term a little bit by reducing the tenant allowance a little bit. And
yeah,
for the audience, tenant allowance being the amount that you can spend towards beautifying or changing up the space, to your suitable needs.
yeah. So
Gotcha.
that felt a little bit like, mostly like just kind of like, I know that this sounds crazy, but I kind of like look at it the way I like have looked at it is just that I'm like, okay, I can't like financially destroy my family in 2 years. Like with the amount of savings I have, like I can't destroy like financially destroy us in 2 years.
Yeah.
So I was just like 2 years felt really manageable. And obviously you like want everything you obviously want your business to succeed, obviously. But I also had to be realistic in knowing that a lot of
Yep.
businesses don't. And so I
Yes.
didn't want to lock myself into a 7-year lease or a 5-year lease and then be like, okay, we are not in a good spot. Like we are now like a year in, which is like, yay, we are in a year in. We've made it through the year point. And so, but like year two could be totally different. Year two could be like, wow, this is not performing. But then you have your lease ends. It's not like you're breaking a lease. Then you just make decisions from there. So
Yeah.
it just felt like
And
a more manageable setup.
yeah. And how large is the space?
It is 1,700 square feet.
1,700 square feet. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty
And so
sizable.
it's got like,
And
yeah, it's got a front room, a back room, and it has 2 storage rooms, an office, and a bathroom.
got it. And are you able to share roughly the amount that you pay for rent as well?
We pay $2,800 a month.
2,800. Got it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Brittany,
Comparatively,
wow. I mean,
there are places that are across the street. They're like newer builds, and they have, I would say, like similar square footage, and their rents range, and they're like legitimately like yards away from us. Like it's not far. Like I can see their buildings. But
yeah,
their rent is like closer, like 4,500, 5,000, up to
wow.
6,000. So those are like
Yeah,
the area itself is like the area to be in. But I would just like in general, I think people think like in Alabama, your rent's like, oh, like you're in Alabama, your rent's going to be like super inexpensive. I would say like our rents here are really, really high, because we are in Alabama, and that's like
it's a good
obviously
area.
like yeah, this is just a good area in Alabama, but it's just, yeah, I would say our rents here feel comparably to pretty expensive.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm really excited to dive into all the nitty gritty, but I just wanted to touch quickly upon like how fast you moved and how I think you did all the right things too in succession, like with testing it out really rapidly, um, driving around, taking up the phone and calling people. It seems like you have a strong bias for action, which I think is, what founders need, right? Because you can always really get caught in the analysis paralysis of,
Yeah.
should I be doing this? Does it work? Do other people like it? But your thought process is, I should just test to see if other people like it. Let me invite 20 of my friends and their kids. And then it's like, oh, I see a space. This looks like it'd work for us. Let me just call them, even though it's Thanksgiving. And then let me go see it. So I really like that. Uh, just want to touch on it quickly. Where did you learn this? Was it through your experience working in the medical field? Have you always been like this? Or, yeah, how is it?
I think I've just always I'm an Enneagram 3, if that tells you anything about me, if you're an Enneagram person. And so, like, Enneagram 3s, and just like as my personality in general, I am like, I thrive on being productive. I am not scared to make decisions. Like, I'm not honestly very, like, I'm not super, like, I'm somewhat risk averse, only just like when I think about things, I'm like, I don't think I do, like, even though this is obviously, I think, a humongous risk. I typically don't make
Yeah,
decisions that are like so risky, but I do always, I don't ever, whenever something into like happens, I generally know the decision I'm going to make. Like, I can generally process that pretty quickly of like, okay, like, weigh the pros and cons, but then I also like need to trust. I trust my gut pretty heavily. Like, so for this group, this is just another kind of like side story, is that, you know, I run a group in Alabama called Be Him Cool Moms. And the way that Be Him Cool Moms started, it's just like an Instagram community, but we have a pretty large group. That's where all these tester people came from, is Be Him Cool
mm,
Moms. And I was sitting at my desk one day, I think it was like eating my lunch, and it was like I had a toddler, I just had my son, I had my daughter yet. And I was like, I don't have any friends that are mom friends. I need some of these. And so I was just like, I think it would be really cool if we had a group that was like moms who are kind of like me, who are like cool and want to go do things with their kids and like want to go just like go out, and we're not just sitting
yeah.
around. Like, I just like, I'm like, I want people like that. So what I did was, I literally, in that moment, this is again probably very impulsive. In that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna whip up a little logo really quickly. So I just whipped up a little logo, and I got an Instagram account, and then I just started kind of like posting. I started following random people on our local, like, we have like lots of breweries in Alabama, so I just like go to the
Hmm.
breweries, and anybody who tagged themselves at the brewery with a like holding their baby, I just followed them. And then
Wow,
it
that's
literally
smart.
has spiraled into this community, like this humongous community where we go on, we have like beach trips that we go on, like there's 20 something people who go on, and we have a Christmas party that has 30 something people who attended. It's like, and we have merch and all these things. But it's
I love
just,
that.
I I think just like as a person, I don't know if I've like, I don't think I've always been like this, but I do think that like a corporate background has definitely helped, especially because I worked in startups for a while, and you have to be really comfortable like making
Yes.
decisions. You have to be comfortable, you know, in somewhat taking risks and testing things and trying things. And I kind of just like look at it is that like you only live on this planet one time, and like what's the point of just like not trying something, because like it could, yeah, like I mean that's like kind of like with the, you know, the 2 year lease, is that I'm like, I don't think I'm going to just financially destroy my family in 2 years, like, but you know, it's just trying something, and if it works, like awesome. And I kind of just always think like there's ways that you can evolve to make things work, but a large part of it has just always been just kind of like trusting my gut, trusting the process, and knowing that like I am capable, and things can evolve, and I can make this work.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that, I think that's a really good piece of advice. I remember one quote that I heard in the beginning of my career that really stuck with me was take educated risks, and I
Yeah.
think you have been doing that to a T. So really
Yeah.
good. All right, so you have the space, you have the rent, you have a couple year lease. What's next? How much did you have to invest into making it into what Artsy Studio is today, and how long did that take?
Yeah. So we, like I said, I did almost all of this like in the dark of night. And so a lot of these things happened like at nighttime because I was working during the day. And so I had to like kind of like do this on the weekends. Like, there are literally videos of me holding my, she was probably like 10 weeks old at the time, holding her and painting the walls in here. So like, and so I tried to be as, so my parents invested $10,000. I invested probably close to $20,000. And then and that's kind of like what we're using as our like startup cost. And so, like I said,
Yeah.
I wasn't comfortable taking out a loan. So I did everything as literally thrifty as I can. So like another thing about me is that I'm definitely the kind of person who, if I do something, I'm like, which probably makes sense for I open an arts and crafts kind of business, is that I'm like, I could make that. And so I did everything as thrifty as I possibly could. So we have all of these, like you can kind of see and tilt it upwards, like all these like on the wall. I hand painted
Yep.
every single wall in here. Every wall in
Wow.
here, like I did all anything that has designs on it, I just hand painted it. Did I have a plan for it? No, I just kind of like went in and just was like, we're just gonna go with my gut. I'm just gonna paint it and just see if it works. Luckily it did. So all of the furniture in here I built myself. We have, and with like the help of like my husband, we have a big, huge table. I could have bought a really large table from like a store or something,
Yeah.
but that would have been really expensive. So what I did
Hmm.
instead was I got these like wooden sawhorse kind of things and got a really large piece of wood from Home Depot, like a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of wood, and then connected them together and then put stuff around the edges. All of the tables in the back we built ourselves. There were certain things that I was like, okay, I cannot do these, even though I have attempted to do it. So there, like the back wall really needed to be painted. So what I did was that I called all of those friends that I referenced earlier and was like, hey, do you want to have a painting party? And so, and of course they all said yes, because they're amazing. And they're like, pizza, wine, yes, of course, we will come paint. It's like the moving, but painting.
I
I am
love
a
that.
chaos I am a chaos painter, so they were like, okay, what is going on here? But a lot of them are really good painters. It gave us a good first coat, and then afterwards, we're like, okay, this space is big. We got to hire somebody for it. I did try and paint the ceilings, and then I realized that is just like, that is an art in itself. So that is something we hired for. The floors in the back had the original carpeting, and I was planning on doing that myself, like installing laminate vinyl plank or epoxying them
Hmm.
myself because I am insane. And I even bought the knee pads and all the things for it. And
My
then
gosh.
I,
This is with a 3-month-old too.
with a 3 month, at the time she was, yeah, at the time she was 3 months old, and my son was 2 years and 3 months old. So yeah, toddlers and like a newborn. But I was like, yeah, I can install this myself. And then my husband was like, girl, no, you can't. Like, this might be something that you could do it. He's like, but it'll probably take you 5 months. I'm like, oh, we got like one, maybe a couple weeks. And so that's something we ended up hiring for as well. But
I
everything in
see.
here, so like from the branding, as like I mentioned, I was a graphic designer. So I did all the branding. I built the website myself. Did all of like kind of like the launch activities. I started really trying to tease it early on. So what I did to kind of like start teasing it was, we have like this windows that face the outside. People like park there at
Hmm.
lights all the time. So one, I made sure that I had like all of the online like things, like my background's in marketing. So I was like, I need to make sure that I have like the right domain. I need domains that somebody else could purchase. I need to get the handles, like, and
Yep.
so I started kind of like teasing online, but I also started teasing with our windows. So I would take
Yep.
these big sheets of butcher paper and I would put riddles on there. And I didn't want to tell them like
Mm.
what it was, but I would just put riddles of like, and I can't even remember what they are at the time, but I would just like put like, this is your first clue to what's coming here. And then I wouldn't didn't post anything about like what we were actually doing. Like I just had like the blank Instagram until I said like, and then I started just doing a countdown on there of like when they should will know like what they should follow and things like that.
Yeah.
And then just did a really big kind of like online launch. Like I launched our website and our social and all these things just like on the same day. And I had done tester accounts as well, or testers like in the studio with like our staff, like after we had hired our staff. And so I had lots of like, I wanted to get like marketing photos, and I wanted to get people that like, you know, other people knew, so they saw them in their community. So it's like my like people in our community, like kids in their community. So I had all of
Hmm.
my friends and some other people who weren't my friends, because your friends will just like tell you like, oh my gosh, you started business on this, oh my gosh, you're doing so good, I love you so much, yay. And so I got people who were like, I maybe were like acquaintances, or like bring somebody
Yeah.
with you or something like that, so I could be like, okay, was like, does this like, let's run this like an like the actual show. So I use that to get marketing photos, and then have my instructors also like test out like the waters and just how they felt about it. So
Yeah.
all of that, we got the keys December 16th and then opened on March 8th. So
December and then March, in about a little bit over 2 months it took
yeah,
you to open. Okay.
our first tester class
Um,
was February 22nd.
got it. And that's where you got all the marketing photos and then put it on your socials and
Mm-hmm.
got the word out more. Um, incredible. I love that you pre-marketed it. I love the riddles. I think that's really clever. What was the response after you opened?
The response was so good. So we had our grand opening on March 8th, and like, so I thought it was not, I don't know, like I don't really know what I thought. Like I knew all like my friends and everything were gonna come, but basically what we did
Hmm.
was like we just had a grand opening party, and we started classes on like March 10th, like the following Monday. So I gave myself like one day to just exist on the planet, exist. And so we had our grand opening party. I had like a balloon arch, and I had been, promoting it, and we had some local news sources that like they had covered it, and it was going to be our ribbon cutting on the same day. So I don't really know what I expected. I don't think I expected like I thought it was gonna like I was hoping like it would be a good turnout, but we were literally packed the entire day. Like we were packed the entire day. There was like it was wall to wall in here. Like
Wow.
it was wall to wall. It was very hot because it was like there were so many people. Like I remember I was like, "Oh my God, it's
How
so hot in
how
here."
many people how many people can you fit in the studio at once?
That so generally when we have classes, we max out our well, we have like the max that we usually have for our like birthday parties is we'll say we can have fit 20 kids like comfortably doing activities, and all of their parents. Like that's like probably like the fire marshal, like we would say like it's a larger number just because, but we have like tables and stuff in there, so that's what we
I
say
see.
for like how many we can fit. But like we had probably passing through, I would say passing throughout the day, we probably had 500 people coming in and out. We
Incredible.
had like, if you look at our photo of our ribbon cutting, like there is tons and tons of people who are there. I had, I had like donuts, and we had, like mimosas and things like that. And then we just had like kind of very simple, straightforward things that we do. We didn't even have our paint wall open. We just had like, like a little art kind of, we had this paper chain chandelier, basically is the best way I could describe it, where they could make paper chandeliers. We had like a collaging station. We had a whole bunch of things like, and they weren't even like the messy activities is what I would say. But we had tons and tons of people who even just like coming through, they're like, oh my gosh, we love this. Like it was just a really great day. It was 3 hours, and it was just really packed the whole time. So the response for it
Yeah.
was really great.
Awesome. Um, can you describe to the audience sort of the business model of how this works? Do kids or parents pay per class? I saw that you also have monthly memberships or annual
Yeah.
memberships. Yeah, briefly describe the business model.
Yeah, so most of our model comes in from drop-in classes, which is basically where people pay for, and we've evolved since we first started. So, but most of our classes come from like what is considered like there's semesters or drop-in classes. We use a system called Sawyer for booking, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like it's a kid-focused program. It's for like kind of like camp booking. It's kind of similar to Mind Body or something like that, but it's for booking classes or like arts camps classes for kids. So we use Sawyer, and people can purchase drop-ins, which is basically like they just drop in, they come to a class, they purchase it there, or they can purchase like the whole semester of a class. So like right
Mm.
now we have a semester that just started yesterday, and or sorry, 2 days ago, and they can purchase like all the classes that are for that specific class. So like say they do homeschool art, they want to do it from November 4th to January 27th. They just purchase all of those classes and they get a discount for that. Or if they do a drop in,
Hmm.
you purchase that class. You can purchase class packs. So we've been for a while opened on a class model where we would just only be open like during class times. And we've recently
Hmm.
started offering something called Open Studio, which I toyed with for a really long time and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. So like obviously, I do a lot of things and I'm just like, you know what, we're just gonna go for it. This is one thing that I was like, I had really thought on, or I was like, this does not make sense in my head. Like, how can I make it so we have Open Studio, which is a different price point, it's a lower price point than our classes, but them get the same experience, but we have to like, there has to be some give and take for that. So
Yeah.
what I ended up coming up with, like with our classes, it's led by an instructor. They're engaging with your kids the whole time. So like in most cases, you can just kind of like sit back and in some cases you can just drop your kids off. Like for our older kids, for toddlers, we're like
Hmm.
probably don't drop your toddlers off. They won't love that. But for like older kids, like you're welcome to like drop your kids off and they can do the class and then you can come back. So, but for open, and then they have like 5 to 6 activities, or they have a really structured activity that they're doing. Like it can be something that is like they're working on a specific project. But for Open Studio, we have more straightforward activities. So they're less like where in our classes we'll be like we kind of like go all out, or we'll be like, okay, we're gonna build this structure and they're gonna paint it, or we're going to use these like really off the wall tools or something. With our Open Studio, it's like they have a drawing station, they have a collage station, they have a painting station, and
Hmm.
it's staff monitored, not instructor led. So it's just a little bit of a give and take, but they still get the same
Yep.
experience. They can still do all the same things that they want to do. It's just like I would say it's a little bit more straightforward. So we
Yeah.
have those hours, which has allowed us to open our hours more because we don't have to like have a staff member who cannot do other things at the same time, like clean, get prepared for other things.
Yeah.
But they can monitor the class and things like that, which is good. And then birthday parties are really kind of like a big thing that we do. We have a birthday party almost every single weekend.
Yeah. And sorry,
And
before
so
we dive into the birthday parties, for the classes, are these typically just about an hour long, or
mhm.
what's the range? About an hour long. And then you
Yeah,
said
classes are
20
an
kids
hour.
per class,
Yeah, we max out in our
maximum.
classes at we actually max our classes out at 10, but birthday parties will allow 20.
Oh, classes is 10. And then the open studio is they can just come do whatever they want. And is that also 10 students maxed out as well?
That kind of fluctuates. It's just like so we have it from we have like our block, or we have blocks for it. So it'll be like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something like that. And so it will just be as people drop in, and then it's first come first serve.
I see. And how many classes do you typically host per day?
So we always have at least it's either we have 2 to 3 classes a day, or it'll be like 1 or 2 classes and Open Studio. So we generally are open from the hours of like 10 a.m. to 4 or 5 p.m. because then
Hmm.
usually after like 5 p.m. we have an after school art class once a week, but then we have lessons at nighttime where because we offer lessons, so that's generally after school. It's usually older kids, and that's when we have like lesson time. So
Yeah,
it'll generally be like 2 to 3 classes a day, or 1 to 2 classes a day in Open Studio.
I see. And is this during weekdays and weekends are the same hours, or are they
We
also different?
Our Saturday hours are 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and we used to have 2 classes on Saturdays, and then we do this thing called drop-in crafting where you can we just set up a whole bunch of different crafts and we kind of cycle them out through like it'll be like seasonal or just new things that we're trying, so people can come in and they can do a self-guided craft. And it's not like it's we set up all the materials and we kind of give them like, but they can do this at their own pace. But we recently just started offering Open Studio hours on Saturdays just because it fits
Hmm.
people's schedules better on Saturdays. And then on
I
Sundays
see.
we have one class every other Sunday.
Got it. Um, so most students are coming actually during the weekdays, it seems.
Yeah, so we
And
have most of our stuff is during the weekdays. Yes, our Saturdays end up being pretty busy too.
I see. And then I guess what is the target market for the students? Is it, K through 12 or even above? Yeah.
Yeah, so generally see most of our business come from the age range of about like 1 to 7. But we have classes anywhere from 1 to 12.
Hmm, I see. And I imagine summers and breaks are the most busy, and during school hours are like regular school schedules where it's a little bit less busy.
Yeah, summer was great. Especially July in Alabama, it's really, really hot. So school, it can be like this is our first beginning of the school season. And so I learned a lot from summer. Summer, it was really with like camps. That's probably more we'll focus on the summer camps. Our camps are really good. We had a Friday camp every, you know, week. So
Yeah.
that was like a mini camp that we had, and we did it from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we have that. And then we will also do and then so now with the school session, we try and like structure things like to be pretty consistent because there's a lot of kids here who are like, we have a lot of we have a large homeschool population, but we also have a lot of like
Oh,
little kids. So little kids are a lot of what's coming during the day. And then like if they're not in daycare or something like that, but then we have our homeschool class too. And that's like a big
yeah.
part of our business is our homeschool class.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just curious, like who's actually coming during the weekday during
Yeah.
school, but homeschooled, and then also younger kids who aren't
Little.
even in school
Yes.
yet. Makes sense.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome.
Lots of younger kids.
Um,
We just had somebody knock on the
Great.
door actually who is a little kid. But we
Oh,
opened for them, so
nice.
we're fine.
Okay. All right. And then, sorry, you were saying something about doing events and birthday parties as well as in addition to your classes.
Yeah, so in our so we have birthday parties, which is, that's something that we do a lot of birthday parties. Birthday
Hmm.
parties are really fun because we create a whole experience for them, and it's really just unique to the child. So we do something different every single time, and it ends up. But that's generally what fills up our weekends. They're 2 hours long. They can invite 12 children. They can do up to 20. 12 children are included, and so they have an hour of art, and then they have an hour of what we consider to be like birthday celebration.
Nice.
And so, yeah,
Um,
so those are doing well.
that's great. And then I think I saw also online that you had like an e-commerce box where you could send it and do it at home. Is that a big part of the
Yeah,
business as well
we
now? Or
we literally just launched that like 2 days ago. And so
I see.
they're called Artsy Anywhere boxes. And so they are basically we create a kit, and it's just like a unique craft that comes out of my brain. And then we assemble all of it and give you instructions where you can do the craft at home. So right now we have holiday postcard kits, so kids can make postcard, and adults can do this too. Like I did them, and they were super super fun. Like it's not just kids. I had to say kids because we primarily focus on kids. So, but we have that, and then we have a trinket tray where we give you. And the good thing about these is that one thing that we get all the time is that people are like, I could do this at home, and I'm like, yeah, you absolutely can do anything at home, but you can do literally anything that you go buy also at home. Like if you want to go out to dinner, you could really make that at home. If you want to go get coffee, yeah, you can make it at home. You can do anything that you do out in the world, you can do it at home. So, but the thing is that you are going to end up like with crafts in general. Yeah, you're going to end up spending $100 on all of the different supplies to not know if
Yep.
it's going to work or not. So, or not know if it's going to stick or not know if you're going to like it or not. So that's why we have all of these like drop-in crafts and our craft boxes and everything, because you get the right amount of supplies, you can do it. Like in reality, let's talk about like even a trinket tray. How many trinket trays are you going to make with Christmas tissue paper? Like, are you going to make 100 of them? But you're going to need, in order to make a trinket tray, you're going to need this much tissue paper, or you're just using like one pattern or something like that. So it's like that's the kind of way like I think about it is, yeah, people are like, I could do this at home. Like you totally could do this at home if you are comfortable doing it. Like great, like but you can do anything that you do out in the world, you can do at home too.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're also now supplying the, you know, built in a box tool
Yeah,
set for those who want to do it at home too, which I
yeah.
think is super smart. Um, that's so awesome. So, how is it doing, sort of March of 25, and then how's it doing now? Are there any numbers that you can share with us for how the business is doing?
Yeah, so right now we're at the point we're still really, really new. And so we're at the point now where we're still just trying to pay off those initial pieces of debt that we have. So like the initial like loans that we've taken out. So that's like honestly the main priority for the last, the last part of this year is paying. And so we have to pay back like about $2,000 left, which I'm pretty excited about. So
Nice.
we have about $2,000 to pay back. And then that will be, then
When you
after
say the
that,
loans, you mean the ones that you invested and your parents invested, or did you take
yes.
on additional outside loans as
No,
well?
no, no, did not take on additional outside loans, but those are just like the numbers of like just like paying that money back.
Got it.
And then but right now is that, we're still just like that. We still definitely need to be doing more business in order to be more profitable. So I don't consider us to be profitable because obviously we still have, that debt to pay off, but we're doing enough business now where we are able to pay our bills, pay our staff, and, work through investing back into the business to create, new offerings for people. But those are kind of like what I'm primarily focused on. Ideally, we do need to be doing more business that I'm hoping that we can really help this help Open Studio pick back up. We've added some other opportunities for revenue. Like we recently added in the front of the building, there's like a print shop where we sell local artists' work, like kind of like a maker's mart. So we started selling local artists' work, and then trying to kind of like beef up our retail section because that's obviously like, especially as holiday season is approaching. So we definitely
Hmm.
need to be doing more revenue and getting more people in the door for classes. I think this is all just a learning lesson for like, our summer was really busy. And then, as the school year starts, like that's slower, but then like,
Yeah.
just based on market trends that I've been seeing, it's the same for everybody. So hopefully once, like the holiday season starts up back up, then, we can start like really trying to expand those offerings so that we can be doing more
Yeah.
business and that we can make
Yeah.
sure that we're continuing to be able to grow.
Got it. And how many students are coming through on a per month basis nowadays?
On a per month basis, we're usually seeing anywhere around like probably 100 to 125.
100 to 125 students per month?
Yes. Because
Nice.
people come on a
Uh,
recurring basis. So like there's people who come like it's like probably like 100 to 125 unique people. So we have because people come on like recurring basis.
Got it, because sometimes it's a semester and then there might be a
Yeah.
class every week or every other week or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Got it. Um, Exciting. Where do you see the business going from here?
So we have another year in our lease, and that's why like kind of the $1 million question is that we have another year in our lease, and so that's where ideally what I would like to do is obviously like continue to grow it and to continue to expand it. I think that we have a really solid mark in birthday parties, particularly in lessons and workshops. So that's been something that I haven't been able to focus on because I've been focused on our classes so much. So as we continue
Yeah.
to grow, those are the areas that I want to continue to focus on. And then, after our lease runs out in the end of next year, I think that that's where we decide, like, or do you continue to grow on, or do you continue to like maybe we'd find a different spot, or maybe may look a little bit different. So I think that that is yet to be seen, but obviously what I'm hoping to do is to continue to grow those classes, to continue to build the business and be able to just make artsy a part of everybody's lives.
Yeah, that's great. And when did you go full time onto the business?
About 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. So very recently.
Yeah.
That's great. So you were
Yeah.
working a full-time job, running Artsy Studio, managing two kids for this entire almost, last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was.
That's incredible. That's really incredible.
It's very insane,
Um,
but yeah. Yeah.
um, awesome. Well, Brittany, looking back on, over the last year, and the lessons that you've learned throughout this experience, if you could go back, is there anything that you would have changed, knowing what you know now?
Um, I don't think that I would change anything. I think like the things that I would just like I would just like, I don't think I would change anything of how I did anything. I really don't. Um, it got me to where I am today, and I just don't think I would change it. But I would just like say that I would just be more, I think, transparent to a fault at times. And so I think that I would be better about keeping things closer to the chest. Like, there's a reason that, like, you don't just like, tell all the things out in the world. Like, I think I would keep things closer to the chest for longer versus being
Hmm.
so, like, just being so open all the time. Like, that's like one thing that I would for sure do. And then I would say that, like, the only other thing is that there would be times where I didn't trust my gut, and that always kind of bit me in the butt. So I would just say trusting my gut 100%.
I see. And you know, when you said being too open, maybe you would rather keep things closer to the chest. Is that because I don't know, people might perceive things negatively, or they don't like oversharing, or is that what you mean? Or
No, no, is that like I would be like, oh, I have this idea or something like that, or like this is what I was like, and so that's just like things that other people can take that and just like and kind of run with it, or I would be do something and be like, oh, I'm like
Hmm.
I'm thinking about doing this, and then they'd be like, oh, well, like I think this would be really cool, and then just kind of like not necessarily having something totally fleshed out before I shared it, or being like this is like a really like, or even just thinking, talking about things related to our business that really honestly should just stay with like within the business. So it's not like people oversharing or like Brittany pulls too much information. It's just that, in order for your business to grow, you do have to have some trade secrets and being able to and
Yeah,
not make my trade secrets public information probably. And so it's
yeah,
just some like a balance of learning. Like I like to share information and I like to talk about things, and that's how I flush things out in my head.
yeah,
So that's just I would say just like keeping things a little bit like giving some mystery to things. Like you don't have to like not everything has to be public information.
yeah.
Even though I
Well,
love to talk about it. So
yeah, no. Well, we appreciate you sharing and being transparent throughout this episode. I'm sure a lot of people will find a lot of value in hearing your story and how you started your business so quickly and with so many things going on. I think this will be really inspiring to a lot of our listeners.
oh yay. Well thanks. I'm so happy you're able to chat, and thanks for having me again.
Awesome. Thanks again, Brittany.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too.